Welcome home, Raiders! This week, patch 6.2 is now on the PTR, and it's a big one. Lots of content, a new raid, new stuff, all new things. We'll get into it. This is Convert to Raid 178.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the world of Warcraft.
Convert to Raid podcast power station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is April 19th in the heart of Gnome Appreciation Month. And it is now 11:18 in the AM Central Time. And thank you for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. And hello, my name is Pat Crane. I am the host of this little shindig. And the players are here, so let's get to them. First up, we'll go to probably Sleepy Seattle. I'm guessing probably Sleepy Seattle for a while. And he'll soon be moving again. It's Darius!
Spoilers, wow.
I know.
Okay, spoilers. I was going to get to that later.
That's
but
cool.
For the next couple weeks, it is Sleepy Seattle, and then it will be something new.
Right. And nobody knows where. We'll keep it a mystery for now. And we'll go to La La Land.
For like 5 minutes.
We'll go to La La Land, to Hollyweird, California, to the Funky Monkeys, Coltrane.
Fortune cookie say.
Oh, boy.
Right. I keep forgetting.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
Rogues prefer to use swords. They are not a fan of knives. Because, they... fan of knives. That's like an ability.
There's a joke in there, right?
Yes, there's a joke. Oh, there's a big joke. Right?
When does it come?
Rogues prefer to use swords. They're not a fan of knives.
Mm.
I think that's brilliant. Oh, come on. That's not that bad. Chat room, help me out. Oh, boy. Well, hey, all right. We're okay.
You got a couple of bongos.
All right, we got some bongos there. We got some bongo action. We got some chuckles. But that was actually done on the tweeter.
Mm-hmm.
At Warcraft Stats, somebody I highly recommend you guys follow on Twitter. I've talked to this individual a couple of times back and forth. Very nice individual at Warcraft Stats on Twitter. On the tweeter.
Always making up stuff.
They need to ban that Twitter thing. That's
good. It's good.
All Twitter? Just all Twitter in general? All right.
That seems to be where a lot of these jokes come from. It seems for the better of mankind.
I think that's a good use of the technology.
Get rid of Twitter.
It's the best use of technology pretty much ever. So it's good.
This is what they had in mind.
Excellent.
When they invented it.
Between Twitter and Netflix, that's all we need.
That's right.
Right. All right, fellas. Let's talk a little bit about our weeks this week, what we've been up to. Darius, you've been out and about, and so you probably haven't done anything, right?
Yeah, so I missed the show last week. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I wasn't on the show last week.
We didn't notice at all. I don't know.
Pat, get your hand off the big applause button.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Don't push that button.
Sorry, I won't.
All right, good.
It's okay.
Good, right.
It's okay.
Go on, Darius.
So I was down. I will be moving in a couple weeks. I got a new job.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be working for Blizzard. No, I'm just
No.
I will be leaving my company after 8 years to go work for a startup in Silicon Valley. So I will be moving to Silicon Valley in a couple weeks.
Right.
Where I don't know anybody, and it should be really exciting.
Woo! Right.
Congrats.
I haven't played a whole lot of WoW.
Sure.
I missed Raid last week and everything because of it. It's been absolutely nuts. Everything's been super crazy here. So
gotcha.
Pat, now you want to hit the button.
Oh, gotcha. There we go.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Congrats, Darius. There you go.
Right. Colt, have you been? Man. Yeah, that's good stuff. Colt, have you been doing anything in game? I know that we're kind of waiting on some new content to come down, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But have you been up to anything this week in WoW?
Well, basically just kind of reacting to the new content that's coming and the new class changes that are coming, in particular, Windwalker monks. But we will discuss that very shortly.
That was actually really funny. That was one of the funny things that happened this time around.
Oh, you thought that was humorous?
Well, I thought it was I thought the reaction. Well, we'll get into it later. Later. All right, but let's just go straight into the Raiden news because we didn't really do anything on the team, did we? No, not really. Well, so
we almost got the heroic or mythic dude down. He's really close to dying. He's going to fall over at this point.
Right.
He's the Beastmaster.
He's going to fall down any minute. We'll just get into the news.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is Raiding News.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening in the news for raiders all around World of Warcraft. And this week we finally have some big news that we can sink our teeth into and just kind of get at this stuff. And it's all about patch 6.2. Yeah! Woo! Woohoo!
Yeah,
we've got a bunch of stuff going on. And Darius, you want to give us a high level look at what's going on? What do we have that's new coming up?
So they're enhancing the selfie cam.
Right. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
Right. Good to go. Right.
That'd be funny if that was it. That's it. There we go, guys. Perfect.
They really should have done that. Just
that would have been great.
Yeah.
Leaked some patch notes last week right before these. That was just all enhancements to the selfie cam.
Right. Well, we do have new zone. We have a new raid. We have new garrison stuff. We have new legendary ring stuff. We have
there's a lot of content coming.
A ton of stuff.
It's insane.
The first thing that we should probably talk about is the Tanaan Jungle. They're going to be opening that up, which is really cool. So we're going to be opening that up, and there's kind of a funky way that we're going to be getting there too. It all kind of ties in with a bunch of different stuff, but we're going to actually be going from our garrison to the Tanaan Jungle through ships. So
through a shipyard.
Yeah.
It says here, access to the zone is unlocked by constructing a shipyard available to characters with a level 3 garrison.
Right.
So we're going to make a shipyard. It's going to be by ship.
I know.
I didn't think we would be heading to the sea in the garrison. I got to admit, this kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know we'd be, venturing out.
Right.
So I was like, oh, ships. I didn't think of ships, like a shipyard.
Right. I wasn't looking at it either. And I saw this and I'm like going, oh, weird. Okay. All right. I see where they're going. And we'll get more into that in just a little bit. But I do want to talk about the new raid, which is going to be in the Tanaan Jungle, which is Hellfire Citadel.
So, wait, didn't we already do this?
Yeah.
Didn't we already go through Hellfire Citadel?
We didn't do Citadel, no. We did Hellfire Peninsula, right? No, well, Hellfire Peninsula was the thing, but the Citadel was the name of the big building, right? But we didn't actually do that. It was called something else. It was called, what was it called? I can't even remember now. It wasn't Citadel, though.
Hellfire Ramparts.
Yeah. I think there was a Citadel
there was a second one, and it wasn't... I don't remember.
I don't think it really matters. So there's a new raid.
Yeah, and 13 bosses.
Right.
So...
Right. I just imagine the listeners like, do we really care?
Do we really care? Do we really want to know the specifics?
4 years ago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
What dungeon?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe they do, and I apologize if you do. For those out there that was holding on by a thread to the name and wanted to know the name, I apologize.
Right.
But yeah, 13 bosses. That's pretty hardcore. Some of those being Kilrog, Deadeye. In fact, you might remember him. I believe he was in the first Tanaan Jungle. I think he was kind of featured there a little bit. Mm-hmm. The monstrous Gore Fiend, a reanimated Manaroth,
right? And
this is the big one, Archimonde.
Right.
He's back, baby.
Yeah.
And Archimonde himself.
Isn't he like the second in command to Sargeras or whatever?
Pretty big dude.
Yeah. He's the guy from Hyjal, right? The one that
I think so, yeah.
The end boss that throws you up in the air and throws you back like 1,000 feet. And
now, what was the name of that instance that he was in? That was what's the name of that?
It was Hyjal.
Are you sure? But wasn't it something Hyjal? Wasn't it?
Battle of Hyjal? I don't know.
Was it Battle?
Hyjal Citadel.
It's Hyjal Citadel.
Hyjal Citadel. That's what it was.
I don't know how
exactly what it was.
The Asparagus Initiative is going to have a hard time in Hellfire Citadel because one of our hunters' names is Kilrog.
That's true.
Right. So I don't know how we're going to deal with this. It's going to be really confusing.
Right.
I'm sorry. We call him Wyatt too. I'm sorry, Wyatt, but
right.
But I like this, man. A reanimated Manaroth. Like these are some big boys that we're going up against. These are some big dudes that we're going to be taking on that are pretty major, and not only the lore, but just the look. I mean, these are going to be some major bosses.
Right. And the Gore Fiend kind of looks like Stitches from Heroes of the Storm. You know, he's got like the open guts or something. He's got like a mouth in his stomach kind of thing.
Right.
And
so
then,
what you're saying is the whole thing is just a big rehash.
Yeah.
Just all of it. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Right. There's lots of rehash in this one. Everything's
lots of rehash.
Like they brought back Manaroth. Oh, he's so old news. You know, wasn't he killed already? Yes, he was. Now he's coming back as a skeleton of himself. And they're reanimated it, and it's like, oh, cool. That's awesome. So,
and this has got Burning Legion all over it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my goodness gracious.
Right.
So that's kind of cool because, I mean, back in the day when they first kind of announced this, it was kind of that this is like the Burning Crusade, you know, kind of expansion. You know what I mean? Which was all about the Burning Legion. So I kind of like this stuff. I like introducing more of this Burning Legion stuff because I love that stuff. I think that's cool, you know, with the green and all the baddies. So these are some big bosses and it should be a lot of fun. But 13 bosses. Now, I have one fear. I got one fear. So everyone's celebrating and everyone's excited about Hellfire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little nervous about Hellfire Citadel.
Why is that?
Because we learned something in Blackrock Foundry, I feel. And that was that the majority of the fights in Blackrock Foundry were about player responsibility, right?
Right.
And that in that, one person can essentially wipe the raid. You know, in the first guy, Gruul or whatever, right? If the tanks don't swap right, and then he turns and swipes the raid, and they've already got the debuff, then everybody dies. In Blackhand, Heroic Blackhand, if a melee steps on one of those mines, it blows up, and then that's a debuff on all the melee guys. Everybody could die. In Orgager, I think the range, you guys got to like shift left and right, right? He shoots out that pool.
Yeah.
And if one person gets targeted and they don't move out of the group, it lands in the whole raid and everybody wipes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've found through this player responsibility stuff, when you're getting into this high level content, this has caused raid teams to also split up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's why bosses that you have on farm, you can still wipe to. Mm-hmm. Because as human beings, we still will make a mistake. You know, we were doing Heroic Blackhand, who we've now...
Speak for yourself, all right?
Well, oh yeah, right. You're right. I'm sorry. The masterful Darius, right, never, gets pinned on Beast Lord Darmak. But anyway, no, but it's a funny thing because even Heroic Blackhand, we've killed this guy 3 times. In theory, at this point, he's on farm. Shouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
But we were still wiping because there's still that player responsibility. So my only fear is heading into Hellfire. I'm worried that we're going to have another 13 bosses that are all about player responsibility. I hope deep down, this is just for me talking, and everyone's going to hate me, but I hope that more of these fights, believe it or not, are more gear dependent, meaning you can beat them with gear and not necessarily player responsibility.
Right.
I think there was a little too much of that, especially in Blackrock Foundry.
Yeah, and we had a question this week about that as well, and we won't... the question's already been asked. I mean, how do you think the devs are going to respond to this? Because we have seen so many teams, kind of implode a little bit. Darius, do you have thoughts on what we're going to see as far as difficulty level goes for this?
I think it's going to be harder. Yep.
Harder?
I think it's going to be harder. I think they're learning from this 20-man Mythic thing, and they're getting better at it, and these fights are going to be even harder.
Right.
More personal responsibility. I like that part of it.
Are you serious?
I don't like these gear checks or these, something that relies completely on RNG, which is the gear you get. One guild, 2 guilds could have killed the same amount of bosses, but one guild gets 6 trinkets from the bosses they've killed. The other guild gets a bunch of, belts. Mm-hmm. The guild that's now got all the trinkets is way far ahead as far as gear goes.
Right.
And that's it shouldn't be like you should be able to do the mechanics correctly and do them better and kill the boss than it is just having to happen to get, or what words are hard.
Sure.
The trinkets, that's I don't like that. I don't think that's the way it should be. If they're going to do that, then the gear should be the same.
I think there needs to be a kind of like a happy medium I mean, I don't think you can do just gear, and I don't think you can do just player responsibility. You know, I think you have to find kind of a happy medium where you have like maybe some big things that everybody has to pay attention to, like in a fight, but they won't necessarily. I don't know. It seems like if you have a couple of people that die, maybe that's okay. But
Operator Thogar is kind of like that.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, there's a bit of a gear check and there's a bit of a personal responsibility, but it's really hard to wipe your raid on that fight, unless you're the raid leader and you tell everybody to stand in a train.
Yeah, I seem to recall you saying, everyone go blue. No, wait! And then boom, everybody gets absolutely annihilated. But also on Thogar,
that's your fault for listening to me.
Yes, but if a tank just makes a mistake and drags the boss over a track and here comes a train, the entire raid pretty much gets wiped out.
I mean, but that's the role of a tank. If the tank screws up almost anything on any fight, you know, it's a wipe. The tank's dead, or he smashes in the wrong spot or something like that. Like, that's always going to be a role of a tank. And it should be, I think.
But it's not always a one-shot mechanic. You know what I mean? Like, if a tank screws up, it's not a one-shot that's going to one-shot the whole raid. Now, here's the thing. Like, the whole chat room right now is like, yeah, Darius, yeah! And everyone's like, yeah! You know, keep raids hard and about player responsibility, yeah! And that's great. And I love to yell, yeah! And I love to get excited.
It just shows that your opinion doesn't matter anymore.
Right. But we have
started with your fortune cookie.
Listen, we have to take a step back and look what's happening, right?
Yeah.
We have to look. All of these raid teams and major ones are disbanding. People are quitting the game. They're quitting WoW. Yeah. They're leaving the raiding scene. We're seeing a big drop off. And it's because these raids are so hard and so about player responsibility. And I know right now you're listening to me right now and you're going, oh, what do you want? I'm so easy. Cole, you're such a noob. I'm not saying that. I like the difficulty. I really do. But look at what's happening.
Yeah.
They can't keep going. This is what's happening.
Right.
Is that just the way it's supposed to be, though? If you look at it, like, there are a lot of raid teams that break up, and that happens every expansion. Mm-hmm. But how many more people are having fun with these raids and are enjoying them and like the mechanics? If it means losing 10% of the raid teams to have 50% more of the people enjoy them, that's a sacrifice that makes sense to me.
I think people are enjoying them less. That's why they're leaving. I think people are like, yeah.
I think we're seeing a lot of high-profile teams leave, so it makes it look like there's way more. But raid teams break up every raid tier because of things like that. It always happens. You know, we happen to lose Blood Legion because of this, or they're not hardcore raiding anymore. But I think people are making a big to-do about nothing. You know, it's just the cycle of things, and it is harder. And teams that thought they were better than they really are might be breaking up, but all I hear from anybody that ever does any of these raids is how much fun they are and how they like the personal responsibility. And that seems to be what Blizzard should be striving for.
Sure. Sure. And
I don't know.
Well, I do think that that one of the things that is not working to their favor is that the new healing regime that was kind of unleashed with Warlords, or, kind of where we are supposed to take less damage, less one-shot abilities and stuff like that. We're not necessarily seeing that all the time. And so I think the healing has gotten a little bit, it's reverted a little bit back to kind of Miss Pandaria. Not really that bad, but where you need to be on your toes as a healer, and as a tank, you can't take, so many things. Otherwise, you're going to get one shot. And that is not working in their favor either.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be kind of this balance where, yes, you need to pay attention to mechanics, but maybe that won't necessarily wipe the raid.
That's what I'm talking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the chat room that are saying, "Oh, not everyone's a mythic raider, blah blah." All these things, Darius, and that's fine. Like, I think that's what this is best for, is to separate, a world-class mythic raider that might kill mythic blackhand, and someone that is on a raid team, or someone that just can't do that. And that's fine if they can't do that. And I think it's just people that need to be honest with themselves and say, I can't do that. I might have to wait until the next tier comes out to do that, or something like that. And I think that's more of a a personal honesty thing than it is these fights are too hard, everyone should quit, or they should be easy.
Well, and we're saying,
I know that Asparagus Initiative is never going to kill Mythic Blackhand in this tier. That's just not going to happen. And I'm fine with that. I've accepted that, and so is everyone on the raid team. And we just do the best we can. There are lots of raid teams out there that thought they were Mythic raid teams, and they're just not. And instead of being honest, they get angry with each other, and they start pointing fingers, and then they break up.
Right. Well, and we're seeing these mechanics in normals and heroic mode as well. I mean, we're seeing this kind of amped up as far as personal responsibility goes for all these different fights. It gets harder in Mythic, of course, but we're still seeing that in heroic and normals as well. So I mean, it's not just the Mythic players that are seeing this; it's everybody.
I mean, they are harder, which it's with the amount of levels there are with normal, heroic, Mythic, LFR. There's enough. There's a balance in there for everyone. I think people just need to be honest with what that balance is for them and push at a level that is suitable to them and their raid team, and not try to push too hard.
All right, fair enough. Okay, good point. Good points. Okay. See, I'm having an open mind.
Right.
I'm listening and calmly responding. Screw you, Gary. No, I totally get what you're saying.
Right.
That's some good points. That's some very good points.
And to be honest, just to kind of speak to that a little bit, I mean, we all remember how the patchwork fight, I mean, it was just a gear check, right? And you just stood there and just, DPS the boss.
Just love that fight.
Yeah, you think that's fun.
My favorite fight.
Right.
You played Mage back then.
Right. So, I mean, we don't want to see that again. I don't think anybody really does. Just like total loot boss. I mean, so you want to make it interesting, but
I do. I want to see that fight. I like that fight.
Maybe we'll see one of those.
I like to meter chase. I like to, DPS meter chase with my fellow DPSers.
That's your game. That's how you play your game. Just meters.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Oh man, but we will have 13 bosses for this new tier, and we're not seeing Grom here at all. So it would appear that we have more than 2 tiers for Warlords of Draenor, right?
He's got to be the optional 14th boss.
No.
Maybe.
Really? Think?
No. He's a big dude. Everyone's got to fight that guy.
And we got to fight Gul'dan, right? We got to kill him.
Yeah, that's right.
He's the other big bad guy.
He's the optional 15th boss.
We're going to have 3 or 4 optional bosses at the end after you unlock them.
Absolutely.
No.
Should we also discuss too that they actually opened up the first boss or one of the bosses for testing?
Yeah, they did that, and it was the Iron Reaver, right?
Right.
The Iron Reaver.
I think that was his name. Yeah.
If you're scared of the Fell Reaver like I am, still going back and you hear that noise just sounding off somewhere, and you go,
your nightmares.
Oh crap! What's that? Yeah, set your alarm clock to that sound. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh man, if
you will wake up.
I should call each of your wives and just send them that sounder and be like, listen, at like 4 a.m, just play this sound really loud somewhere in the house and watch what happens.
Actually,
that's true.
To be honest, my cell phone sound for my wife calling me is the Fell Reaver.
Right.
So that's so that I will answer it, so that I will pay attention to it.
Wow. You haven't told her what that sound means, right? It's just a nice sound.
Not
the
at all.
fear that it incites in you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So Iron Reaver, and it looked pretty cool, actually. I mean, this one is like on steroids from the Fell Reaver. It was fire everywhere, green fire everywhere, flying above you, dropping crap on the ground. And I was watching, Sloot was doing a stream this week with it, and it looked kind of intense.
It did, and it was really neat that he kind of like comes like his RP, so to speak, as he comes in and lands. It's very awesome and very cool, and it looks like he shoots out some kind of conal fire stuff. He like charges a random raid member, and then in phase 2 he kind of goes up in the air, and it seems to be kind of a rinse and repeat. But I gotta say, this is like a random thing, but Midwinter, right? These guys, awesome, 3rd in the world, 1st in the U.S. It was so neat seeing Sloot now like muting vent while they were raiding, like because he was discussing strats. And in the past, it was all just open because they weren't like going hardcore, and they were, but not like they're not at this hardcore level. So it's just so cool for me seeing Midwinter like the top. You know what I mean? Number one U.S.
Right.
I've always been a big fan of Midwinter. You know what I mean? It's always been a great group of guys, and I'm just so happy for them to see them at the top. It's just so great.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
But yeah, the fight looks really cool. A lot of green fire on the ground and a lot of stuff, a lot of poop to avoid standing in. So.
Right. A lot of personal responsibility.
Yeah. Oh boy. There we go. There we go. Personal responsibility.
Right. Right. Let's talk a little bit about the garrison stuff, because we have a bunch of new garrison stuff, like we kind of mentioned before. We've got this whole shipyard deal, which I found kind of funny. The ships are going to bring you to Tanaan and to the new raid and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And there's also Barry's ships are going to be followers now. Is that the new follower?
Maybe, kind of. I don't. I was a little disappointed when they announced naval missions, and I thought it was going to be like a quest for belly button lint and things like that. Turns out it's actually boats.
Right.
Wrong kind of naval.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You worked on that joke for a long time, right?
Yeah. You give me about the fortune cookies. You're talking about belly button lint in your naval mission.
Yeah.
But yeah, ships are going to be kind of followers, not really. I don't know. It's I need to see it fleshed out for it to make sense to me, I think.
Well, sure.
Because right now it's more. It seems like another cool thing that I'm gonna have to build to go to Tanaan, but that's about it.
Well, I do believe that that Blizzard actually released a commercial for 6.2.
Yeah, I heard that there's a TV spot coming out.
Yeah, and we have the audio here, so let's just roll that down right now.
New from Warcraft.
Feeling like there's nothing to do in World of Warcraft? Not anymore. With a Warcraft garrison playset. Who needs friends when we give you followers? Plus, you'll construct amazing buildings like the Mage Tower,
Expelliarmus!
Alchemy Lab, and Farm. But wait, there's more to do in patch 6.2 with the Warcraft Garrison Naval playset. Construct your new shipyard, build destroyers, submarines, dreadnoughts, and more, and dispatch them on brand new naval missions. And even take your own private pirate ship out on the high seas, plundering the likes of Tanaan with your first mate, Khadgar.
I maintain a pair of goblin jumper cables for just such an emergency.
So come aboard, mateys, and join in on an ocean of fun with a Garrison Naval playset, only from Warcraft.
Yeah, so that happened. So that
I'm
happened.
pumped.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pumped.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go.
I think they're playing that spot basically Saturday mornings, right? Between all the cartoons. So
That sounds good. That sounds good.
after school, all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of what it made me feel like. It made me feel like, oh, here we go. Here's the addition. Here's a new playset, essentially, for guys in their garrison. Yeah. If you've done everything for your garrison, here's more to do for your garrison, type of thing. So, I don't know. Now I'm making money with my garrison, so I'm happy about that.
That's true.
No,
Draven just said in chat room, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. All right. Fair enough.
All right.
Welcome to my Sunday morning.
But I guess we're gonna have like 5 or 6 different types of ships that we're gonna be able to create and then or get somehow, and then we'll be able to run naval missions on the seas for this stuff. Darius,
I'm sure there'll be like gnome submarines and that kind of thing, and we'll have battleships and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, do you think we'll have actual battleship for the game for WoW?
That'd be pretty sweet. right. That would be awesome.
Now that they heard it, they're working on it right now.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. So it's kind of cool. I guess it's something different, but I think it's more of the same, right? I mean, it kind of sounds like more of the same. So, I don't know. The other thing we'll be able to do with the garrison stuff is we'll be able to, or not with the garrison stuff, we'll be able to finish the legendary quest line for the People's Ring. So that is good. And
still
big applause.
No word.
Big applause.
At all as to what this like optional legendary is going to be.
Yeah, they talked about it before.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. But we'll be able to finish up this one, and that's good because I think that finishing up in 6.2 makes sense before the last raid of the expansion is out. It's kind of like, was the cloak? That finished up right before?
It was available for when you headed into Siege of Orgrimmar.
Yeah.
Right.
So you could use it in the final one. So yeah, it sounds like they might be doing the exact same thing here.
Right.
Which is cool, which I like. I mean, that's one thing I remember back in the day in Cataclysm, the staff, you got the staff and you needed the Heart of Ragnaros after you defeated the final boss. So it's like, great, I got this awesome staff and nobody to kill. Like, I can't really.
I killed the dude for the staff that I wanted to kill the dude with. Oh.
Right. So, it'll make farm night easier. But other than that, so I like it that it's a part of the progression heading in. And it looks like with this legendary quest, this ring, it's not just solo ability anymore. That if other people in your raid have this ring as well, it could kind of benefit you. Now, Darius, how's this thing working here?
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I think the latest iteration that I saw was it's a like a 2-minute proc shared by everyone in the raid or something like that. And then when it does proc, everyone with the ring does increased damage. And then after like 10 seconds, they do a whole bunch of damage to everything within 20 yards to them.
Wow.
Which is I think that's awesome. Because a whole like a raid wide buff for everyone that's got it. That's pretty cool. But then the 20 yards thing, that could end up being awesome. You time it where you this thing procs and everyone's standing right next to the boss or something like that, and they just do a whole ton of damage. I don't know. I think this is gonna be really cool when it comes out, and probably really frustrating because you'll get Dave standing over there in the corner, and he screws it up.
Right.
Are we talking about more personal responsibility now?
Yeah,
with the legendary ring. Well, it's interesting. A group proc.
That's
they
cool.
said it in the chat room too. I've never seen that before. That's kind of a cool thing. The more people that have this ring, we can all proc together. You know what I mean? Let's all proc together.
Let's all proc together.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a song from the 70s. Let's all proc together.
It does. So that's kind of a cool thing. Now, I'm curious because I remember also seeing some negative feedback about this, but I'm curious, what's the other side to this? What is the negative? People were talking about, an NFR and group thing, and I didn't quite understand what could possibly be a negative to a group proc. I don't understand. Anyone have any idea what that side of the argument was?
Because it doesn't line up with their cooldowns.
Yeah, it is. The chat room was right, and I didn't see this the last one. It's on use, so it's not random, but it is a 2-minute shared cooldown among everyone. But it could be, you could pop because someone accidentally pops it. Sharku runs in and he pops it on the pole. And there's no damage to do for the 10 seconds or whatever. So there's a negative side to that, and it procs it for everybody. It'd be like someone popping Bloodlust,
right?
Except everyone has this button now, not just the mages. That's bad. Because if somebody fat fingers the proc, then the whole proc's gone for the entire raid. It's going to trigger everyone's.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh boy.
Or you could run into the instance kind of like we saw in Siege of Orgrimmar, where like if you try to join a random raid and you don't have this ring, they're not going to take you.
Yeah, this could be a
huge damage increase.
Yeah, well, but it was like that if you think about it on the legendary cloak as well.
Yeah.
If you remember back in the day, that was like, well, if you don't have the cloak, we can't invite you. Like I remember seeing in trade chat where everyone goes to join a raid group. Or, is it trade?
Right.
It would say, looking for whatever must have legendary cloak. Like that was that gate. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be the new gate. Now, for those of us that are upset about there being a gate, there's no way to avoid this. We can't avoid the gate. You know what I mean? That's just going to happen. So,
right.
But that is interesting. I don't know if I like that. I mean, if somebody fat fingers it, I mean, we've all been there. Like we're on trash and suddenly bloodlust, or like everyone's eating and then bloodlust. I guess that's just something that happens.
Right.
Or you could have you pop it 2 minutes on cooldown, but that doesn't line up with 3-minute cooldowns you have. So you miss 2/3 of it of the procs that go out.
Sure.
If you've got a 3-minute or Yeah, I mean, there are a few different. Like I said, it's all this damage, and one or two people don't stand near the boss or near the ad that they have to blow up with all this damage. They could ruin it because there's a lot of damage when they actually blow up. We'll probably see some bosses, maybe on heroic and probably in mythic, where they have an ad or a boss or something where this ring is you have to be using this ring in order to damage down an ad in the correct amount of time or something like that. And if you don't all have it, then your team's kind of hit that wall. I mean, there's a lot of downsides to it too, but it's also a ton of upsides. I mean, the damage is nuts. And the proc is crazy, and it's a legendary, as a less than wise person once told me, it's all about the loot.
That's right. It's all about the loot, baby. That's right. But it's an interesting thing though too, that because it's not personal use, people might be upset about that because, and some of the people are saying this in the chat room too. I want my own DPS. So I want this to line up with my cooldowns, with my 3-minute cooldowns, with my trinket procs. Then I want to use it. And if someone else is going to use it, it's like a group bloodlust in a way. You know what I mean? So I understand that some people might be upset, especially, meter chasers like myself. but for the good of the group, it's probably good. We get down to that burn phase, you got to burn him down before this. Now we use the legendary proc together, and we all do this together. So
yeah, it's just I don't know how compelling it is. I mean, the developers have always said that they want everything to be compelling as far as the usage of whether they're abilities or items or whatever. But I just don't know if this is going to be a really compelling thing as far as gameplay goes. For raid teams, we'll want to use it because we want the extra DPS.
Right.
But I don't know.
No, it's true. It's not very compelling. And as someone who I know who's a little bit less than wise, it's almost as compelling as a naval belly button mission.
I don't know who would say that.
One of the things that is compelling, though, is that there's going to be a new dungeon mode out there.
Yes.
And it's mythic difficulty dungeons. So I don't know whether to give applause or not.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. I don't know if that's plausible.
That's pretty good. I like that. Now that is good.
Wow.
So
well done, sir.
And I didn't work on that one at all.
All three of us. We're all just getting in on those.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
I like that.
So we have a new mythic difficulty, and it's going to be difficulter than heroic. So
right.
Difficulter.
Right. So is this just a way to rehash, or is this going to be something special? Is this going to be cool? Cool.
Well, it's going to be cool, and here's why.
Okay.
It awards item level 680 loot, and a chance for the boss at the end to drop loot that's item level 700. So that's cool already, because as we all know, it's all about the loot. It's all about the loot. About the loot. There it is. You get it done. Yeah. It's all about the loot. About the loot. You get it done.
All right. That's enough. That's enough.
Yes. That's what it is. It's all about the loot. So because of this, myself and millions of other people will run these dungeons because of the loot.
Right.
I'm telling you right now.
So now it's going to be we have to run this because we want the loot.
Yes.
So all right. Cool. Darius, what are your thoughts on Mythic?
I mean, this is what we've been asking for, kind of, for the last couple expansions, where people are saying, "Oh, why didn't you? Why haven't we seen end of the, like we saw in Firelands, we saw the ZG and ZA, we saw in Wrath, we saw the Halls of Lightning and things like that. It's like, why don't you bring those back? And this is their way of kind of doing that without actually developing new dungeons and taking away from all of our precious raid tiers. So they can make them harder. They can give you this catch-up mechanic with better loot, and you can't grind them. It's a weekly lockout, but you're still at least getting a chance to get much better gear, than you would in a normal dungeon. So I think this is a good compromise between the two, because I don't want them spending time on dungeons for, and sacrificing my raids.
And let's double check. You said a weekly lockout, meaning you can only run these once a week.
Correct.
That's it?
Correct.
Well, it says weekly lockout. I don't know if that means they're going to do a weekly gear lockout. You can run them multiple times with people, kind of like they do with raids, or if it just means that you are locked to it for a week and you can't go back in for that week.
My guess would be that you'd be loot locked out. I mean, because everything is flexible, right? I mean, right now. So I would hope that would be the case, but who knows? Because it has that mythic tag, it might be just locked out.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I think people, some are saying that they're worried that, there's going to be like challenge modes. Nobody runs challenge modes. I think it's because of the loot, why people will run these mythic dungeons. Right. I think that is the basis for everything we do in World of Warcraft, frankly. Yeah. In particular, raiders. So if there's new loot and it's got a higher item level than what I have, I will do whatever I can to get it. Mm-hmm. I think that's just kind of the mindset in a weird way.
Well, and I do think that it doesn't really matter whether or not people run it because they are taking these older dungeons that have seen better days already. I mean, we've ran the crap out of them, right? And so just taking those, making them harder, and putting them back out there. I mean, it's kind of rehash, but it's new, and it gives better loot, so that's good. And I don't think it necessarily matters how many people run it, just as long as it's available to people. I think making it available is more important than people actually, like everybody going through it.
So that means we gotta do that wind tunnel again. That spires of Iraq, the wind tunnel, that ramp.
Right.
Holy cow. Maybe it'll like one-shot you this time if you get hit.
I'm like, why do they have that ramp in the first place? No idea. Right. Just random windy ramp. Great.
Well, they've got wings. They don't need to use it.
Right.
Fly down to the other level.
It's just so that priests can life grip people to their death again. That's all. They added it in there.
That is true. The other thing coming to dungeons that they're testing out on the PTR right now is time walking. And for this, I am actually going to do big applause because I think this is cool. So for time walking, what's going on with the time walking stuff, Darius? What's the plan?
So they're going to be doing these things called time walking weekends.
Yeah.
And each weekend it's going to be there's going to be in 6.0 they're introducing weekend events. One of them will be called time walking weekends. There's going to be 7 different events, and they run from Friday to Monday. They're kind of like the Dark Moon Fair, where they run from a set amount of time, or like a holiday boss or something like that. But it's on the weekends, and one of those 7 is going to be called a time walking weekend. And in that time walking weekend, what they're going to do is they're going to take old dungeons. There's a list of like 10 old dungeons, which includes Halls of Lightning, one of my favorite old dungeons, and then a bunch that are boring, I think.
All right.
And then what you're gonna do is that the time walking dungeon is actually going to scale up to level 100, to your current level. So you're gonna be able to go through Halls of Lightning, where everything is as difficult as it would have been when you first ran through Halls of Lightning.
Right.
Which I think is gonna be. I mean, this is something people have again wanted for a long time. And I think this is the next step towards time walking raids as well.
Yeah.
And this is really cool. So.
Yeah, there's some good dungeons here, right, Colt?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Alcatraz, Black Morass, Manitomb, Shattered Hall, Slave Pens, Ankahet, the Old Kingdom. I don't know about that one. That
one's kind of...
Back in the day. Gundrak, Halls of Lightning, the Nexus, and Utgard Pinnacle. Now, Nexus I always enjoyed. Now, that doesn't have that one where you had to fly on the dragon, right?
That's the Nexus one, isn't it? No, that was... Began with a no. Again, we're getting hung up on names.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. But one thing that's interesting what they say here is they go, that's right. When you time walk through Utgard Pinnacle, you take down King Yamiron, the final boss, and you loot his red sword of courage. It will scale up to an item level appropriate for your use at your level. Right. So that's really neat. So this loot that you get, and this is, again, going off what Darius said, but I like that. I'll get the red sword of courage, and I'll actually be able to use it. It'll scale up to level 100. So that's cool. It's actually like viable loot. So I like that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for just doing some of these old dungeons again and not having them be complete pushovers. I mean, even at level, when you're doing these, you're fully loaded up in heirlooms. You know, everyone's a level or two above the dungeon. You're just walking through most of these places.
Right.
You know, I'm excited for this. This will be fun.
And I like it that you still get to retain all your abilities, obviously, from level 100. What we were thinking, and by the way, that dungeon was Oculus. So thank you, Chad Room, for helping us out. I was not a big fan of Oculus. But I like that. Originally, when we kind of saw this stuff leaked, like, I don't know, was it a year ago or something? There was some kind of thing about it. We thought we were all going to get scaled down and that maybe we would lose some abilities. We didn't think that everything would be scaled up. So that's kind of cool. So you still get to play your character how you play it, same rotation, same everything. It's just now it's worthwhile loot and an actual difficult dungeon. It's not just a
they're calling it a new sort of quote unquote heroic difficulty. So they whatever that means, if they're going to add new abilities or what.
No, they said that they weren't going to build any new abilities or anything like that. They'll have the same abilities. It's just it's going to be tough for people to move through. So it's going to be a lot harder. Which is cool.
Good.
And I know that on the forums, people were crying out rehash, and they were going, well, it's not so much about whether or not this content is new or old or refurbished or whatever. It's about whether it's fun and whether or not it's useful for folks. So those two things are the only things that matter when it comes to this particular content. They are not looking to make a big statement. They just want people to have fun with content that's available to them and make it a challenge.
Yeah. And they've had 10 years of content.
Yeah.
And these dungeons, some of these were a ton of fun.
Right.
And I like it when they were progression. So I like it being able to go back. But yeah, 10 years of content, of dungeons, of raids. And that kind of opens that door that you can go back and try out this great content. There are those of us that didn't start from the beginning, that started later and never got to experience these dungeons or raids. And now they will. Now, again, this is just dungeons for now, but I think this is obviously a stepping stone to raids. But the big thing to keep in mind, though, this is only on a weekend thing. This isn't like a 24/7 you can go into these old dungeons. It's just going to be on a certain weekend block that you'll be able to check out these old dungeons.
Do you like that it's just that weekend, or would you prefer it to be open to everybody at all times? Do you think the limited availability is cool?
Yes, because it makes it precious. It makes it wonderful. It makes it desirable. Yeah, it's like supply and demand, it's like it makes it precious.
Right.
If it's all the time, I'm like, but it's on the weekend and it's Black Morass.
Right.
Oh, I remember that. Let's do that. That'll be fun. So
yeah, because you'll run into if it's 24/7, you'll run into the thing where like I'm on a Tuesday afternoon, I'm like, man, I really want to run Mana Tombs, and I sit there and I constantly searching for an hour to find a group to do Mana Tombs, and then I'm like, forget it. This is stupid. This feature is dumb. Because you want that nostalgia feeling and that novelty feeling of the weekend where you're like, oh, I can run Black Morass this weekend. All right, I'm going to do that 2 or 3 times. And then that's it. Like you get your fill in that weekend and now it doesn't pop up for another 6 or 7 weeks.
And it's a good point that everyone is going to be running it that weekend too.
Yeah.
So it's a great point that you say, like you're in the mood for Black Morass on a Tuesday, but nobody else is. So then you're like sitting in queue forever. Right. But on that weekend, boom, you're good to go.
Right.
You want to have those 5 people there all the time at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right way to do it. Even if this does extend to raids, I think this similar kind of lockout thing is the way to go. Because if this comes out for raids, everyone's going to say, I'm going to run Karazhan. And everyone's going to run Karazhan for the first week. And then that number is going to taper off drastically after that. And you're going to be sitting in a queue waiting for 20 other people, 40 other people for these old dungeons. It's just never going to happen.
Right.
So.
Gotcha. There are some other things that are going on with patch 6.2. Number one, the dungeon guide is getting turned into the adventure guide. It's going to actually have quests and stuff like that available in there as well. I kind of took a peek at it on the PTR. It looks kind of cool. Not really a huge improvement, but just a little one. And then we also have a bunch of class changes as well that they're working on. And now we're going to hear about monks.
What?
So it was what I thought was funny about the monk changes was they came in and they said, oh, we're going to do these sweeping changes and they're going to be huge. Like we're taking 30% damage of this, blah. And then like a day later they went, we're going to change that back to like 5% off instead of 30. Right. So what else is going on with monks?
Well, I think what you just illustrated is the big lesson for all of us when we look at PTR.
Right.
And class changes specifically on PTR, meaning they can change at any moment. At any moment. The first thing that got posted was monks. Pretty much all of our abilities are nerfed 30%. But then there was a change, though, with TEB, Tiger Eye Brew Stacks and Multi-Strike. So it's like, well, wait, is this actually like a buff? like, but well, we're getting nerfed here, but we're getting buffed here. So where does it mathematically come out? And then the next day, everything was like, well, it's now a 5% nerf and all this big change. So there's a great guy. His name is Hina Lover, HINALOVER, and he is on Twitter. And I highly recommend all you monks out there to follow this man. He does a lot of the SimCraft stuff and a lot of the math and the theory craft that goes into it. Now, SimCraft is, of course, something that developers love. Blizzard loves SimCraft. Just love SimCraft because people base everything off SimCraft and not, Right. But that's okay. But I asked him directly, look, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. What's the deal? His first response is way too early to tell. If they leave it as it is, then a small nerf and not too big of an issue. Now, if we get a new mastery, which is entirely possible, then prepare for a bumpy ride. But given how early the PTR stage is, it's just too hard to tell at this point.
Right.
So for you Windwalkers out there, we're getting a lot of emails, a lot of responses on Twitter. Be cool, baby. Be cool. It's still early. Things are still changing. And I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be all right.
Yeah. Yep. And for Resto Druids, no change at this time. No, right. We're not getting new absorbs or anything that I want. Anyway, some of the big raid cooldowns are changing. Isn't that right, Darius?
Yeah. So, the hunters aspect of the fox, which was cool for a little bit, that's going away.
Mm-hmm.
And then mages amplify magic, that's also going away. And then paladins, Devo Aura is now going to reduce all damage, not just magical damage. That's huge.
I like that change. The other two I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why those were added to the game in the first place. They talked about how they wanted this expansion. They wanted, healing cooldowns and things like that to go away for anyone but healers. And then they added mages amplify magic, which increased healing done by 25%. Mm-hmm. That seemed a little odd. And then aspect of the fox, that's one of those things that when it works right, seems to work really well. But there are often times where, it's either hit too early, too late, or something like it seems to be more of an issue than a helper most of the time. It was kind of a cool ability, but it just never panned out.
Well, and also Fox became a thing where you had to have a hunter. You had to have so many hunters. Right. I remember one of our strats was, we've only got 3 hunters. That's only 3 foxes, so we can't do this particular strat. We got to do a different way. So it became a thing where it was a necessity to have a hunter. You need this. You need this aspect of the fox.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
There were plenty of raid teams doing Mythic Blackhand that if 3 hunters didn't log on that night, they just didn't raid because they couldn't. Their strats involved 3 aspects of the fox, and they just couldn't do it without.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's not something Blizzard wants.
Right. And then it became, for every healing cooldown, we'll just throw an amp on there and that'll be that. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, that's not very compelling. Again, we're talking about compelling gameplay. It's not really that, it's just, you hit it every time. Okay. All right, cool. But I'm glad about the Devo Aura. That's cool.
I always thought it was strange giving raid-wide cooldowns to DPS. I think that belongs with tanks and it belongs with healers, mainly because you have less of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. You have 2 tanks. That's pretty much it. An occasional third, but you always have 2 tanks. You usually have 4 to 5 healers, and that's it. We're DPS. You got tons of DPS. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Keep those raid-wide cooldowns from me to tanks and healers. That means less of them, and we should be good to go.
Yep. Any other class changes that you guys saw that you wanted to mention here? I know that there was a big long list of stuff that's going on that they're testing right now. And
it's just so early. It's just so early. And it's hard for us to not look at wowhead.com and see these PTR stuff and freak out. I get it. And I freaked out too, man. When it got posted for Windwalkers, I was like, oh no, and then it literally changed the next day. So I don't know. It's still very, very early, but let's sit back and enjoy the ride. We'll see what happens.
Yes, indeed. Well, the other thing that happened this week, other than patch 6.2, was BlizzCon tickets. BlizzCon tickets went on sale on Wednesday and then again on Saturday, and they're sold out. They went in a super hurry and all that kind of stuff. But again, people were talking about Eventbrite, which is the host of those ticket sales. And apparently, again, we're talking about glitches and slowdowns and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Do you guys? I know that they that Eventbrite actually released a couple of things, and Warcraft put them up on their site as well, talking about Wednesday was slow. Okay, we'll work on it all week, and then Saturday came along, and same issue. Sorry, guys. Better luck next year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just it felt like I don't know. I understand that they tried to do everything they could, and they probably worked 24/7 from Wednesday to Saturday. But at the end of the day, they knew this was coming. They knew the demand was going to be there, and they still didn't come through. And it left a lot of people angry. A lot of people that didn't get tickets were very angry. But I just felt like Eventbrite's their comment was. It didn't make me feel better about the whole thing, and ultimately, at the end of the day, though, like there were people that were not going to get tickets. That there's just not enough tickets to go around. I wish there was. BlizzCon for 3 months straight would be awesome, but wait, no, that'd be awful.
No, that'd be like awesome and awful.
I would never sleep.
Right. Well, the thing about it was so many people I talked to were in the waiting room, ready to go, and then suddenly, boom, they get kicked out for no reason. Right. Why am I kicked out? I was one of the first to click in. I'm in the waiting room. I'm ready for a ticket, and then suddenly, boom, they get kicked out for no reason. So Eventbrite, I saw kind of an explanation about how they kind of do it versus how Blizzard did it. But I don't know, man. This is the second year in a row. And they issued an apology. I think it's time to sound the trumpet on old Eventbrite. The
right. Yeah,
I think it's over for Eventbrite for any future BlizzCon, in my opinion. I think
when the thing got posted in the forums, I think it was Netheria posted that actually the Eventbrite apology, and the first post that someone made, or the top post or whatever, is Sky Idrum, and he says, "Dear Eventbrite, thanks for trying, but this relationship isn't going to work out."
This is signed the Blizzard community.
Right, exactly. We're sorry, but we have to break up with you now.
Right. And I understand that we're supposed to, they tried, it didn't work on Wednesday, and they really tried, and they gave it a good go. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, this is what you are for. You are hired to deliver this service and in a perfect, excellent way. This is your job. And if you failed this job and it hasn't gone well, then I don't know. Then you can't work with them. You know what I mean? So I felt so bad for so many people that were in the waiting room and they just got kicked out for no reason. You know what I mean? That's it's not fair. That's not.
I don't think we can blame Blizzard for this either. Like, I don't think this is Blizzard's fault. I'm sure Eventbrite, they might have had the infrastructure to sell these tickets for everything else, and Blizzard probably had every reason to believe that they weren't going to have issues going into this event. I'm sure Eventbrite didn't go to Blizzard and be like, well, we might be able to handle it. I don't know. Probably. Like, I'm sure they told Blizzard they could handle it, and Blizzard said, all right, you do it, and they probably got, a pretty good amount of money for it. And then, this comes up, and what can Blizzard do? This is Eventbrite's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get somebody else to do it next time.
Yeah, but that's next time. There's nothing they can do this time. So, there's no sense in being angry at Blizzard.
Right.
I'm sure they went into this with full confidence that Eventbrite was going to be able to handle it. And they couldn't. So
and considering that this is now the second year that they've said that they could do it and kind of didn't really happen, I think maybe Blizzard will be looking for something else. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But you can still get tickets.
Only.
Oh man, I saw somebody post up on eBay a ticket for like $1,000. It's like, really? Come on. So you can still get tickets for BlizzCon, but now it's going to be the charity tickets. So the charity tickets go on sale on Wednesday, and those are $750 a pop, and you're limited to just 2 of them. But you get the dinner and hopefully a chair.
And a chair. We're hoping for a white plastic chair.
Yeah, we're hoping for chairs this time around, so that's good.
Right. Get to meet the devs and sit in a chair, hopefully.
That's right. And another thing happened this week. I want to mention it. I don't want to get into it, but we had the PvP Q&A with Brian Halenka this week, and I would have watched it, but it happened at the same time as the Star Wars celebration during the cast panel. And I'm sorry, Brian. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. They had BB-8 on the stage. It was amazing. Come on. They had
that droid is real. That's the weirdest thing. Basically, for those wondering, in the Star Wars teaser, the very first one, there was that droid that was on that ball.
Right.
And it was kind of rolling, and it was like, you know, and we all thought that thing was CG. I mean, obviously, right? Well, turns out it's actually real. That's like, they actually made that. So they bring out this droid, and it's a ball with like this head on top of it that's moving around. It has something to do with magnets or something. I don't know what. It was awesome. It was really cool.
It's crazy. But it happened at the same time as the PvP thing. So if you guys want to watch it, you can get the VOD on MMO Champion, and it'll be on Warcraft.com, WorldWarcraft.com soon, I think. I think Laura was going to put it up this week. So that's something to look forward to as well. So I think that is going to do it for the show. Lots of stuff coming up. We're going to keep an eye on that PTR. Going to make sure that all the things are checking out as we move through. But it's time to get out of here.
Woo.
And
major content drop, man.
Yeah.
Huge content.
Exactly.
Still don't see selfie cam patch notes though, so I'm holding out for that.
That's true.
Yep. It's not real, so the selfie cam gets an update.
Right. Selfie cam needs an update. Bad. Let's talk about 5-star reviews there, Darius. Who do we have to thank for this week?
We have Proz Z, I think is how you pronounce it, and then Irelena. Man, these are bad.
Names are really great.
Yeah, and then Silvertip. Oh, I can do that one. Silvertip.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you guys for the 5 stars very much. Any shout outs this week, fellas?
Good.
I got a big shout out to there's this individual, and it's on my phone, but it's not recognizing my fingerprint, so I can't open the phone. But he's doing really well in his team, and they're top 25, and go, buddy.
There we go. There we go. We're having problems with names this week. That's fine.
We are. I'm sorry.
I'd say a preemptive shout out to Silicon Valley for putting up with me.
There we go.
When I finally moved down there.
That's awesome. Go. Congratulations on the new job, man. That's really, really awesome.
That's very cool.
That's very, very
all right. And of course, we want to thank you guys for listening to us. Thanks for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for sending us questions, which we did have that we answered during the show, but whatever. And thanks for all the feedback, and thanks for all the YouTube stuff that you guys do. Amazing stuff. And I'm just gonna bail on the music.
You're just gonna bail out of that?
Yeah, I'm just going to bail out, and I'm going to play this one. There we go. And if you guys want to get involved in any conversation that we're having at any time, you can do it real easy. Email us at converttoraid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at ConvertToRaid, or where else, Coltrane?
You can follow Pat Crane at Pat Crane. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane. And you can follow Darius at BoardMine.
That's right. And join the Bazooka Nation by heading over to ConvertToRaid.com, where we have all of our shows, videos, audios, yes. And we have tons of links for raiders. All the guild stuff is over there. So much more. It's all over at ConvertToRaid.com. Our live feed and video show is on GameBreaker.tv. Make sure to watch that stuff. Like, comment, all that kind of good stuff that you do with YouTube stuff. AlphaGeekRadio.com has our live show as well. Thank those guys. And you can play it on your Roku and your mobile phone and all that kind of stuff. The audio show is available on Stitcher, iTunes, and everywhere else on the internet. The Convert to Raid podcast is produced and distributed by Signals Media. Make sure to check out our friends at the Signals Media All-Star Network at signalsmedia.com. And that's going to be it for the show. It's a fun show. Lots of content to talk about.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on our next show next week at our regular time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys at Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.